Good morning. You listen to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. This morning, my guest is Paul Murfin, the president of Taylor Adhesives. Paul, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, Kemp. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I understand that you drove into the office. You don't normally do that, but you're in the office in Dalton today. So I wanted to talk to you about the news that just came out earlier this week that you're now the exclusive adhesive supplier to AHF Products. Most people know AHF Products is the company for the hardwood business that used to be under Armstrong. Now you have an exclusive arrangement with them, right?
That is correct. And if I just take you back to my flooring days, I can recall when I was on the flooring side of the business, my sort of primary focus was on selling the flooring and selling out the factories that I was responsible for. And the arrangement here essentially allows AHF to do exactly that, to focus on selling flooring. And we will take ownership of selling their adhesive products under their brand as well as their cleaning products.
I'm not necessarily surprised to hear this. Your more recent job prior to Taylor Adhesives worked at Mohawk, and while you were there, you worked alongside Brian Carson, and you guys developed a great working relationship, and now Brian's running that AHF business, and you're running this business, so it just kind of makes sense that the two of y'all would talk about, let me help you with this, right?
Well, the problem with being around for a while, I should say being an old guy, is that you know a few people. And, of course, Brian and I enjoyed a good relationship together. We saw an opportunity for AHF to sell more adhesive with additional focus, and this also provided them, I believe, with an opportunity to really focus on selling their flooring products, and the fact that Brian and I knew each other sort of facilitated a good discussion. Having said that, our teams and the AHF team have pulled this together, and I think both groups are very excited about it.
Well, let's talk about the offering, if you will. I mean, it's under the Bruce brand name. Oftentimes, companies will tie the use of an adhesive as part of the warranty. So do you have that kind of package going on?
Absolutely, we do. What AHF is going to do is offer enhanced warranties for using the Bruce adhesives in conjunction with their products. Typically, on the adhesive side of things, most people are concerned about compatibility between the flooring product and the adhesive that's used to adhere the product to the floor.
Right.
And that is certainly the case on the resilient side. I think there's less concern on the wood side because, for the most part, wood is wood.
Right.
So there really is an opportunity to increase the attachment rate of when a Bruce wood flooring is installed. It gets installed with a Bruce adhesive now. And I think with our focus, our sales team training the AHF distributors in the combination of the two, I think there's an opportunity to grow the business together.
Is this relationship, this adhesives, it's across Bruce, everywhere Bruce goes? I mean, because Bruce sells to the home centers, they sell to national accounts, and then also through distribution. So how does that work?
So we have become their exclusive adhesive supplier. We will take ownership of, I would say, mainly the distribution brand in terms of sales and the marketing. So we now have access to a whole group of new potential customers or partners on the adhesive side. If there is a home center opportunity, Bruce owns the selling function there, but we, of course, would supply the adhesive in that application. We will almost certainly have slightly different brands for the actual products so that there is some sort of channel integrity between the two, but everything would be sold under the Bruce label.
So you're focused primarily distribution channels, and again, looking back at your background, you worked at Armstrong for a while, and a lot of those distributors were Armstrong distributors, so you know a lot of them.
Yes, that comes back to the old guy comment. I know a few people, and so it's actually a pleasure to get to know the Armstrong or AHF distributors again and to facilitate some new potential business together.
When you talk about gluing down hardwood as opposed to nailing it down, when you start talking about the performance of the adhesives, I know you've just been there about 6 months, so this might be technical for you, but there's some kind of a moisture, because one of the issues that makes wood curl is moisture coming up from the subbase. There's some kind of function there that, as far as guarding against moisture, right?
That is correct. You are correct. I'm not an expert in this at all, but that's the reason that we have a portfolio of products So we actually have 3 different adhesives in the Bruce collection. One is Summit Select, which requires no testing when it comes to moisture and can go up to 100% RH. Mm-hmm. Then we have a product called ProConnect Plus, and that can handle RH of 90%. And then we also offer a urethane product, which many people enjoy working with urethane, and that has a slightly lower tolerance when it comes to moisture, but nonetheless, there's a lot of urethane that's sold in the wood flooring business.
Paul, I got to tell you, it's refreshing to do an interview around some kind of a business decision that's not related to this virus shutdowns. It's good to hear that some business is getting done, huh?
I must say we're all very frustrated with this virus. It's obviously impacted all of us. But this was a nice opportunity. It was a way for us to be proactive in the marketplace. I have no doubt that the impact of COVID-19 is going to make this a little bit slower to take off. Mm-hmm. But the initial reaction from the AHF distributors that we've spoken to is extremely positive. Over time, I think it will become a very meaningful program to both AHF, their distributors, and, of course, ourselves.
I know back from my days of doing profiles on Taylor that you have 2 manufacturing facilities, one there in the Dalton area and one out in the Southern California area. So those are both running now?
Yes and no. We have slowed down the facility on the West Coast, really based on demand. We are running the East Coast facility every day, so that is quite occupied. Kind of interesting, what we saw was that the West Coast slowed down sooner than the East Coast did. That's the reason that we've gone quiet on the West Coast for the short term. However, we have seen some spikes of activity the last week or 2 on the West Coast, and it is my hypothesis that the West Coast was the earliest part of the country to go into this and will be the soonest part of the country to get back out. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually very optimistic that the West Coast is going to come back on stream, hopefully in the next few weeks, at least to levels that we can get back to doing business again.
Are you starting to see an uptick in orders now in the last few days?
It's very mixed. Our business through the month of March was extremely strong.
Yeah.
We had a very, very strong first quarter. I'm hearing that from a number of companies in the industry.
Yeah.
We're a little bit fortunate in that we are involved in both residential and commercial,
right.
Also retail and property management. Mm-hmm. And as you know, there are sort of spikes of activity by different parts of the segment and also in different parts of the country. We were in a wonderful position all the way through March. April was a fairly significant slowdown, but nonetheless, there are still pockets of activity taking place in certain parts of the country and certain channels that they've actually created, I would say, more business than we anticipated.
Well, that's good to hear.
We're not thrilled about where we are, but I think compared to many other companies, we're doing reasonably well. And hopefully with some new programs like the one we just talked about today, we can start to get things back to something more normal anyway.
Yeah, I hope so. Well, it's good to catch up with you. Congratulations on your new partnership with AHF Products. Again, been talking to Paul Murfin, the president of Taylor Adhesives, and you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.